Democracy is essentially anchored on a tripod, which, as we all know, is made up of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Democracy itself is anchored on the rule of law, and the arm of government with the mandate of making laws is the legislature. Without law, there will be no democracy. There will just be anarchy. This is why Speaker of the House of Representatives, YAKUBU DOGARA, in a paper he delivered recently, declared that a democracy can only be as deep as the laws upon which it is founded. At the federal level, the role of the legislature is quite visible in this regard. But what happens at the subnational level? What role does it play at that level is the legislature play in deepening democracy? We'll be looking at this critical issue on Nigeria Today. My name is Wilfred Ewalifun. Thanks and for staying with us. This is Nigeria Today, and we are looking at deepening democracy, the role of state legislatures. And to discuss this, I have in the studio, first of all, Right Honorable John Gore Label, Speaker, Cross River State House of Assembly. Honorable Speaker, you're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much.
And also in the studio is Awal Musa Rafsajani, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. Madam Awal, you're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, let's have the speaker take the first shot. And really, let's start from a general perspective. Within the context of your defined role, which essentially is not just lawmaking, how much are state legislatures contributing towards deepening democracy in Nigeria?
Well, the powers and the responsibility of the legislature at the state level is aptly captured in Section 100 of the Constitution, and that has to do with making laws, oversight, and representation. And so the typical House of Assembly has the responsibility to make laws, oversight the laws and the activities of the MDAs, and then also represent its constituency. Now, in doing that, you need to be conscious of your social environment. You also need to understand the needs of your society. You don't make laws in space, you make laws based, particularly you must be biased based on the economic direction and policy of the state, which is usually given by the governor in the presentation of the budget as provided under Section 121 of the Constitution. So that gives you a navigational guide. But you also need to make laws that will also help the development, foster peace and unity of your state, and also ensure the development of your community and your society. Unfortunately, the state's constituencies are not designed like local government constituency. The member of the House of Assembly makes laws not for his constituency, but he makes laws for the state. My constituency, Abi, I can't make laws for Abi. It's only the councillor in Abi local government that can make laws. So in that context, your state laws are statewide. You must have a statewide approach towards making laws. So we've done the best we can within the limitations. We are limited in terms of autonomy.
We'll come to the issue of the limitations. First of all, let's even just look at how you're deploying really, your mandate effectively within the context of, just like you said, making laws for the good governance of the state, as it were. And, at this point, I'd like to bring in Madam Awal. You're really involved with regards to the legislative agenda. What do you make really of the roles of state legislatures in the context of deepening democracy?
The state lawmakers are very, very important, arm of government in deepening, democracy, because as we operate in federal system. We have federal legislators, we have state legislators. We're supposed to have at local government. We're supposed to have also council of legislative council, even though unfortunately that has not been actually functioning. But at the level of the state, the legislators have a key important role, if not the same role with the federal legislators, but almost close to that. And therefore, when you look at the huge expectation and the developmental programs and projects that the state will anchor, it must also go through certain scrutiny and approval for the state legislators. For example, the governor cannot implement budget or just spend without the approval of the state legislators. It is expected that the lawmakers at the state level, they will subject any bill sent to them by the executive, by the governor, and this include appropriation and any other bill that will help to ensure good governance, transparency and accountability at the state level. So they have that mandate to be able to scrutinize that and be able to do justice to it, irrespective of the fact that, we know at times some of the governors are so powerful that they want to just undermine even the relevance and important or the powers of
I guess,
the legislators.
let me just, I'm sorry, I have to come at that point. We're going to talk about, the role of the governors and all that. But first of all, I just want us to look at first of all, the legislature, how much are they themselves, doing with regards to, as you said, doing due diligence with regards to exercising these powers. You talked about the power of appropriation, for example, which, at every point in time, the assemblies flaunt as their major power. To what extent, are you using this power to ensure that the interest of the ordinary man is protected?
Okay, I think the strongest and the most important power that the House of Assembly has is not the power of appropriation. Appropriation is money bill. And then it comes in way, if you look at the budget, a division of a budget is a proposal by the executive. It's not the exact mathematical estimation of how much government has. It may be a deficit budget or it may be an envelope budget. So that is a proposal. And once the proposal comes, it just creates a guide for you of what to do. But the biggest power of the House of Assembly is in Section 125, which is the power of the public accounts. That's the power that you have to hold the governor, and all the head of the MDA, the accountant general, the auditor general is responsible for expenditure. And that's where the House of Assembly has the capacity to question the value for money analysis provided in the budget.
To what extent have you used that?
Extensively well. Unfortunately, the Section 125 is also limited because it's not really, we are not allowed to investigate the whole process. What we are allowed to investigate is the report of the auditor general as provided after the queries. There's internal auditors, there's external auditor, there's the query of the auditor general, and the auditor general submits his query through the speaker to the House of Assembly. And what we have before the auditor general is those areas of funds that they can recover or contractors who have abandoned projects that the House is called upon. The other areas that they're able to resolve doesn't come to us. But within that capacity, I think that is where, as Speaker, that's where I've seen my members exercise their powers as a House of Assembly. That is where a commissioner can appear before the House, and then he's asked to produce the printed document or statement of accounts, and then valuation report, and then he's asked to go on a site assessment to see value for money. And then the public account goes and is able to hold constituency meetings and demand from the constituents who are beneficiaries of the project whether this project actually has value to their life. The issue of need and assessment, even which starts before the budget process, even comes to question at the point of public accounts. However, the powers of appropriation under Section 125...
We'll just come to that. Let us interrogate a bit more about this, the issue of the powers of public account, and that's where I bring in Madam Rasojani. The Speaker just talked about the power of public account. To what extent have we had that deployed?
Well, actually, most people, they didn't know one of the most important, committee in either the State Assembly or the National Assembly is the Public Account Committee, like you rightly mentioned. But unfortunately, that committee has not been taken serious, either by the legislature or by the public themselves, because this is a committee that is expected to actually review, interrogate, and look at the spending that has happened.
You said something just now. You said to an extent that committee hasn't been taken seriously by even legislature. How true is that?
Yes, I will explain.
No, I'll come to you. How true is that?
I agree with him partly, and that comes to the issue of the capacity framework.
Okay, fine. So you continue.
Yeah. The reason why I also mentioned that some people, they think that, because usually traditionally that committee actually usually goes to opposition party, and sometimes some of the members, they think that maybe perhaps it's not a juicy committee that they need to, be seen. But if you want to hold government accountable, if you want to make sure that, things are done correctly through the instrumentality of Public Account Committee, you could actually help to ensure that, value for money, like you said, is actually achieved. You could also eliminate a lot of, fraud, a lot of duplication, a lot of things that, is being presented, sometimes, So it is important committee that I think, as we are deepening democracy, we need to ensure that, we give attention to that committee, because it has a very, very important role in terms of ensuring that, the developmental projects, the policy framework of the government, and many other things that legislature has to do with and executive has to do.
By inference, you're suggesting that if that committee was actually, if those committees in the various states were actually working effectively, the question of accountability would have been taken more seriously within our policy.
Definitely, he will tell you, yes. It will definitely be taken more serious, you know, because they know that any ministry or prestator or any agency of government knows that, you know, that committee is armed with professional support, you know, to be able to detect fraud, to be able to ensure that things are done correctly. I think the government official, contractors, public sector, everybody would take that committee very serious and would take the assembly work very serious. Honorable,
this just touches on a very, very important point. I mean, that's all within the context of democracy. The whole issue of accountability. You started off this issue of the public accounts. I mean, speaking pragmatically, how much have we seen state legislatures actually holding other arms of the government accountable?
Well, I would say it's not been very impressive, and it's a general problem. And I'll tell you that first, the problem is that the biggest challenge of the legislature at the state level is the issue of institutional capacity and then institutional memory. Now, what you have is a situation where a member of the House of Assembly comes, is elected, after 4 years he doesn't come back, or if he's lucky like I was, and you get a second term, that's gone. Then you're going to deal with the permanent secretary who has been in office for 30 years or 35 years. He's called permanent secretary because he brings permanent intelligence to the system, and if somebody who has a responsibility to preserve that institutional memory. Now, without the corresponding capacity of the chairman of the Public Account Committee and the members of the House of Assembly, their oversight function and responsibility as it relates to public account will be a complete joke. And I tell you so because if you go to the executive, the accountant general and the auditor general have the services of consultants. They have some of the best consultants who do all the analysis, and it takes a period of 9 months to do all of those public accounts, and it's sent to the House of Assembly to work, to return back within 2 months. Now, you know, what is the capacity, first within the membership of the House and within the House of Assembly staff to confront with this data and produce a document that can indict the executive?
Honorable Speaker, the issue of institutional capacity is one that has been said over and over again since I think about 2003, just about 4 years after we got into this democracy. How long are we going to continue to talk about this same issue? Do you need to spend more than 4 years in the House to develop capacity?
The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is supposed to create the merit architecture, provides that the House of Assembly members should have minimum qualification in school start. What's the capacity of somebody with a school start to deal with public accounts reports? That's the first issue. First, the merit.
Tell me.
Wait, no, okay, no. Now, first, there's a general.
I mean, are you suggesting that there's an issue of capacity with regards to even the members of the House, with regards to start of their background, first of all?
No. There are two things about capacity. First, capacity is that your minimum learning level and your minimum intelligence, which takes you to the House of Assembly. One, I came into the House of Assembly as a lawyer with 15 years post-call experience, but it was not enough. There's internal capacity you need to be, which means that you have to be trained as a legislature. You have to go through conferences and so on. The legislature is a sector-specific intelligence sector. You can't deal with it with the experience of having been a good lawyer outside. When you come in, you need to understand the procedure and how these things are done. In most assemblies, how many times do you think members of the House of Assembly even get trained and have opportunity of attending courses? But that's which is tied to the issue of funding, and because the House of Assembly is not independent, the Speaker can't take his colleagues to training. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the institutional memory in the House, when I mean institutional memory, is that even the quality of staff, because you have civil service staff in the House of Assembly, the quality of the staff of the civil service, how many times are they trained?
You know what, Speaker, I think we'll come back to this point because you say, I am an administrator, and ordinarily I have built capacity within my system. That has been a question of what I've been able to do just within 2 years. But you know, just very quickly, a comment from you, Madam Awa, before we go for a break. This issue of building capacity, SISLAC has been involved in this. I mean, how much of a problem is it for State House of Assembly?
It's a very serious problem, like you try to, to mention here. When you have a situation where you have serious capacity deficit at the level of the staff themselves, you have a serious capacity deficit at the level of the members themselves. And therefore, since they do not have financial autonomy and is not also given priority in terms of acquiring skill and improving your capacity and knowledge, in most instances, because most of the members, they do not give that priority for self-learning, Otherwise, actually, as a lawmaker, you should actually make sure that you are up to the task, even within your own framework, without waiting for, somebody to do that. But unfortunately, the system that throw most of the lawmakers in the system, it does not have systematic, leadership recruitment process. So we need to talk about, the caliber.
Well, I'm sorry, I will have to come in here because I have to go for a break now. But but before I took that break, you talked about the issue of financial autonomy. To an extent, if you recall, that was self-inflicted. Yes. Though now they're trying to cure themselves of that. But we'll go more into that. You're watching Nigeria Today, and we'll be taking a break now. And during the break, we'll listen to what Nigerians have to say about this issue.
Because one thing is, the federal, they won't be able to look into some of the little issues that are going on in the state. They won't be able to look into some of the matters that are affecting the state. And that's why I say that the state legislature, they are playing a very nice role in the government. They are affecting the government.
The state's House of Assembly, they don't have powers on their own. You understand? So whatever they do it based on the instruction of the governor. You understand? So the whole thing, to me, I've not even seen the impact of the House of Assembly of the states. You understand? I've not seen their impact, and I don't know how really effective they are.
It's not what they are doing. We expect them to do. They are doing. They're after themselves, grabbing the money. That's what they're after. Even I'm regretting why I vote themselves.
Now for my state, we have a local government council. I believe the duty of the executive council, the reps, is for them to make sure that those things are in place. But I can tell you, since this administration, we don't have councils. But as local government council, we only have a chairmanship, state chairman. But at least each ward is supposed to have a councillors. But I can tell you, as at this period, we are unable to have an election in each of the local government.
What about your state House of Assembly?
The state of assembly, they are existing, but I don't feel any impact.
Why do you say so, sir?
Because, at least there should be a reasonable project that you should see that, yes, this is what the administrative of this also person in particular have bring to the development of a particular local government. We send them there to represent us. But
Thanks for staying with us. This is Nigeria Today, and we had a cross-section of Nigerians there giving their opinion about the issue of the role of state legislatures. But our emphasis is upon what they're doing to deepen democracy. Before going for that break, we're talking about the issue of capacity. But before we go back to that, actually, Honorable Labour, we just listened to Nigerians there. There seems to be a recurring issue of perception of states, houses of assembly, as essentially being rubber stamps of governors. How do you respond to that? How do you feel each time you get that thrown in your face?
Well, perception, the perception issue is not, doesn't get imposed in a day. It's something that has been there for, I think, for a long time, particularly since 1999, is an impression they have. And unless the public see a tremendous improvement in that, they'll continue to hold that. But I think that they are not fair on the state legislature, particularly between the transition that we have made between 1999 and now. I say so because most of them don't even understand why we were voted into office. What is a House of Assembly member? What is his constitutional responsibility? What's supposed to be his return back to his constituency? Is it to build schools or build roads? What will be the job of the executive? Now, if they provide for a project in my constituency, and then I ensure that that project is executed, I ensure that proper oversight is done, and ensure that the project is commissioned, and the project has value to the need of my people, I can take credit for it, but I didn't bring the project. I'm only a facilitator to the project. So there's this perception, because people still question, they say, which road did you build, which school did you build? That is not the duty of the legislature.
Yes, okay, to an extent, of course, we have issues with that misconception, but what's staying with you, and this same issue of, being a rubber stamp, your own assembly, under your leadership, for example, set a record in Nigeria by passing a budget of over 1 trillion naira. To what extent did you actually scrutinize that within your powers?
Okay, the budget, first of all, remember that the budget is first a proposal, a financial proposal.
But you passed it?
Yes, it's a proposal that was sent to us, and the budget was submitted in the month of last day of October, or first week of November, and that budget was passed in the first week of February, which means that we've spent a period of over 3 months, 90 days to consider the budget. In the course of that, we were able to call for the medium-term expenditure framework to be revived to ensure we want to see what the allocation will be for a period of, because you can't spend 1.3 trillion in 1 year, and we had that clear understanding. So we saw the medium-term expenditure framework. We demanded for the growth and development strategy document, which is a GDS. We demanded for the physical strategy paper to show the progression. Now, one of the things that the executive was able to do in that budget, even though we had our reservation, but we have to listen, we have to give them the benefit of doubt, is the fact that what they provided, sent to us, was not an envelope budget. What they sent to us was a deficit budget. So they came with a clear explanation that this budget is coming in deficit in the essence of this amount. And then they came with also the guarantee that if at the end of the second quarter they are unable to achieve 50% of the budget, they'll come with a supplementary. Now, comparing that with the fact that if my constituents are able to see that I'm going to attract more projects under a budget of 1.3 trillion, and the fact that they have given a guarantee that this budget may be implemented, all I need to do is to give them that benefit of doubt, which is what we gave them in the budget.
Okay, anyway, Honorable Speaker, I mean, ordinarily, you do know the fact that even budgets, even if the estimates are practical statements, and you had some reservations, but nonetheless, it was still passed. Madam Mawal, I mean, we started by talking about perception, really, of our State House of Assembly. You know, how much of that is real?
It's very, very real, and you can hear from the audience, you know, from the people being interviewed. And if you go outside, you know, because of two things. One, lack of proper understanding of the roles and responsibility of the lawmakers, and also the responsibility of the electorate themselves, because they too, they have responsibility. You know, legislative work is so important that you cannot just relinquish it just like that and then be criticizing only. You need to participate. There must be, you know, opportunity for you to participate, you know, in the development of legislative work and, you know, legislative agenda, you know. So you need to provide, you know, appropriate and accurate information to lawmakers to be able to take appropriate decision. You need to provide them with timely information to intervene in terms of complete, you know, situation or communal problems. You know, they also play that role in terms of, you know, things that, you know, the electorate observed as abnormal. You know, they need to provide that information through their representative, you know, so that their representative would actually be talking, you know, on behalf of his people. As it is now, there's a disconnect. The electorate, they wait until after 4 years, you know, to start, you know, lamenting. The members, many of them, they have no any business with electorate until when election comes. So we have a serious problem, and that is why CISLAC is interested in trying to ensure that the electorate understand their role, the lawmakers, they understand their role, and we also try to bring in many instances, you know, interface between the electorate and the legislators, or even sometimes between the legislators and the executive, for proper understanding, because we are talking about democracy, we are talking about participation, we are talking about achieving development for the common people. So therefore you cannot do it, you know, under hostility. You need to create an enabling environment for people to ventilate.
Because, you know, time is always always a challenge on programs like this. But, you know, just before I leave you, really, within the context, apart from the issue of enhancing the capacity of legislatures, what, just very briefly, do you think that they should actually do towards, you know, deepening our democracy?
I think the legislators must take that upon themselves to improve in their knowledge and skill and be able to understand the rudiment of legislative processes and procedures, so that they can be able to assert themselves and do the job they're elected to do. I think if they do that, you know, it's a self-learning, and there should be a kind of a learning process. Even the National Assembly, there was a time we were proposing that, look, why can't you begin to have, you know, do some kind of induction, you know, with State House of Assembly, so that they can also understand how you operate, because at the level of the National Assembly, things are built a little bit much more better than in some of the State House of Assembly. So there's need for that learning, exchange of learning, so that they can continue to be able to be on top of the issue.
You know, Honorable Level, we're always coming to the end of the program now, and we've already seen the House of Assembly, for example, you know, showing some prominence in the amendment of the process of amending the Constitution. I mean, how much more are we likely to see State House of Assembly, taking a more prominent role in ensuring that democracy finds some concrete relevance?
Well, that has to be exhibited first with ensuring that you deal with the issue of the budget process. Just ensure that the executive is able to present the budget as at when due, and the budget is passed at the beginning of the year to ensure that the fiscal policy is coherent. The second issue is that the chairman of all the committees of the House of Assembly must follow up all budget tracking system from the ESCO extract down to due process requirement, due to budget extract, and ensure that these projects are awarded with the need assessment base. Then the second thing is that the Public Account Committee of the House shouldn't wait till the end of the day for these things to come to pass.
Well, Honorable John Lebo, Speaker of the Cross River State House of Assembly, thank you very much for coming on Nigeria Today.
Thank you.
And may I also thank Madam Awal Musa Osujani of the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, for joining us on Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. You have been watching Nigeria Today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And you can watch the program online at www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. See you next time. Thanks for watching.